Every year, gear companies release new products that are hopefully innovative and solve problems for backpackers out on the trail, or simply is just their take on a traditional piece of gear like a backpack or sleeping bag. Sometimes these items are a huge win, and sometimes they are more or less a fail and don't live up to the desired outcome of its release. So today I've got a handful of fresh and new pieces of gear for 2025 that have personally piqued my interest, that I'm excited to get out into the field and do some testing with and share that experience with you guys so that you have more information and more data to be able to help you decide whether or not you think it is a good piece of gear for you to use for your personal backpacking trips. To kick things off, let's talk about 3 new backpacks that I'm testing in 2025, a 25-liter day pack from Quechua, the Big Agnes Sweetwater 43, and the Gregory Packs Paragon 50. So the Paragon from Gregory is a pack that's been in their lineup for some time, but it's been updated for 2025, and you've got 3 different sizes available in the pack. A 50 liter like I've got here, a 60 liter, and a 70 liter. I'm excited to use this more traditional style of pack after having really focused on using a lot of ultralight focused packs, but primarily after having such a good experience with the REI Flash 55. I am back to like, man, there's probably so many good, more traditional style packs out there that come in at lower price points as well to make them a bit more approachable. Feature-wise, you have your classic top lid closure, then you have a cinch collar top, you have a stretch mesh front pocket, you've got access to the inside of the pack from this side zipper right here, which is unique and new for me, and then you have a stretchy mesh pocket here on the side, but then on the other side of the pack, you also have a second water bottle pocket that also has easier access to get the bottle in and out when the pack is on. So attention to detail there, which is not something you normally see from an Osprey or a Gregory type of brand where you have this more traditional style. It's nice to see access to water bottles being more of a priority instead of promoting you should use hydration sleeves or hydration bladders for your backpacking. Then here on the bottom, you've got some bottom straps and a sleeping bag compartment as well with a divider in there, but you can unclip the divider, let it fall down to the bottom so that it's just one big open space, but you have access to that compartment down there as well. Then your suspension on the pack. The hip belt is, at least from my initial trying it on and such, it's pretty rigid. So I hope that it doesn't create bruising or hip hickeys and such from wearing it, but you've got a lot of ventilation opportunity, an adjustable torso, and an adjustable hip belt length as well. So you can really just cater this and fit it to exact sizing that you need for your needs, or if you're sharing it between different people, like one pack for yourself and then maybe it's going to your kid or whatever, it just provides a lot of flexibility for buying one pack and being able to fit multiple different people with it. So that's cool to see, and great hip belt pockets. This pack has a lot going for it. I'm excited to check it out. So we'll obviously share more information as we use it, but that's the Paragon 50 new for 2025. Now next up here is the Big Agnes Sweetwater 43 backpack. I particularly found this one interesting because of the design elements that you get from this pack. It is streamlined in design. It's meant to be lightweight. It's got vest style shoulder straps to just help spread out that load, a good hip belt, and I'm intrigued about this because this is essentially generation 2 of pack releases from Big Agnes. Now, you go back to their first generation of packs, the larger packs, the 50 and 60 liter options, I felt like were not executed well. The hip belts were way too big. They just were not designs that were super functional, even though Big Agnes put a lot of time and effort into those. I was not a fan of that 50 liter pack, but now that they've had a little bit more time, they've released this Sweetwater, and I'm intrigued to see how this thing does in comparison to those previous packs. It has a weight capacity of about 30 pounds, but you have a lot of things going on with it. Like I said, vest style straps. You've got the mesh pockets here on the front. A phone easily fits into those pockets. I can put other items, snacks, things on the go for just moving quickly with this pack. But if I take it off here, let's just talk about some of the other basic features that you have with the pack. If we look at the back panel of it, you've got that nice hip belt, you've got a pretty rigid frame and adjustable height on your shoulder straps for a little bit of torso adjustment, load lifters, and then side compression straps in that kind of like V shape or Z style of pattern. You've got stretchy mesh pockets on both sides, a big stretch pocket here on the front, like you would see on a lot of different ultralight or lightweight focus packs, and then a simple like hook system for you to unhook and get your top lid open for that cinch style closure that you see on a lot of traditional packs, as well as an included rain cover. So for a $280 price point, it'll be interesting to see how this pack does. I am not sold on it yet, but it is a bit out of the norm, which I think is kind of an MO for Big Agnes to step out of bounds a little bit. So that's the Sweetwater 43, and I'm excited to put this to use and get back to you on what I like or don't like about this pack. Now next up here is the Quechua MH900 25-liter day pack. This is a pack that I am really excited about. So much of the decathlon products have an amazing value with them, and when I was researching this pack, I was like, there's some cool things about this that I want to test and try and see how they function on a day pack. Now, there's like 8 different pockets that you get with this pack, as well as a really robust suspension system, harness system, and a nice hip belt. So this will definitely carry some weight and be comfortable for an all-day excursion and time out on the trail, give you enough space as well without also being a huge bulky piece of gear. Now this comes in at a very good price point of $130 for everything that you're getting out of this. So you have that full hip belt with these really nice shoulder straps, you have load lifters, you have on the right side of the hip belt a watertight hip belt pocket for you to put things in. So you find yourself in the rain or whatever, that's going to give you some protection. It's not going to be waterproof. Like, obviously we know that. But then on the other side of the hip belt, you have a more stretchy mesh pocket for you to put things that would need to expand through the hip belt. And then you've got a really solid water bottle pocket that you can actually put a water bottle into, as opposed to trying to shove it into the super tight pockets that are typically found on a day pack of this size. Again, it's only 25 liters, so it's not enormous, but to have a dedicated water bottle pocket to drop like a smart bottle into, or a squawk bottle, that's fantastic to see. And then here on the front of the pack, you don't have a stretch mesh pocket. It is a top load design. There is a zipper up there to put your car keys or those really small gear items. You've got a little hook for you to close that up, and then this is again a kind of draw cord cinch style opening, and then other like hidden pockets and such that are on here. So on this side of the pack, this zips open to give you access to the internal main body of the pack. And then on this side, you've got another watertight zipper that is a place for you to put snacks or water filter, or just being able to put that in there is super nice, as opposed to having a stretchy mesh front pocket. And then you've got a side pocket right here that you could put like trekking poles into on both sides, or whatever small gear items you would want to put there. But then with the pack on here, I notice right off the bat, just the torso length of it at an 18.5-inch torso is really nice. The hip belt sits in a good place. It's not too high up on the rib cage or anything that sometimes you see with day packs and such, but it's going to make for moving down the trail really stable, and just to be able to move quickly or carry a little bit heavier weights in the pack and enjoy yourself that way. Man, I'm excited about this pack and the value that you get with everything pocket-wise, and just the comfort that I can already feel with this. I'm excited about it. So that's the Quechua MH900 25-liter day pack. Now, the next piece of gear I want to talk about is something I've wanted to use and test for quite some time after seeing some really good reviews about it, and that is the Coros Apex 2 GPS watch. Now, I've been wearing the Garmin Fenix for several years at this point, and it's been my everyday watch, but I don't have anything to really compare it to in the experience of how it functions against other items out there on the market. So I'm checking out the Coros Apex 2 Pro to see how it compares to my experience with that Garmin Fenix. This watch I've had for a few weeks at this point, and I've had it out on one of my backpacking trips, and I'm impressed. Like, this thing is providing a really good experience, and it handled everything on the trail really well. I feel like the GPS was really accurate with it, and paired to the Coros app, also with the satellite imagery and everything, it tracked really good being down in some narrow canyons as well, which usually with GPS watches or just GPS in general, you'll bounce like up high and out of the canyon and such because it's hard for the satellites and everything to like connect. And so it's like you did 14,000 feet of elevation gain that day when really you maybe did like 800 feet. So it was cool to see the accuracy with that, but I love like the sleep tracking with it. I love being able to check my heart rate. I have kind of an irregular heart rate, and so having something that provides that stability for me to know where I'm at with my heart rate, because I will jump up into the high 180s pretty quickly with the benign heart murmur that I have. And I don't know why necessarily that makes my heart rate jump really high, but I will get into the high 180s pretty quickly, and having a watch that provides the monitoring of that so I can stop and slow down and just take care of myself is really important. But also to have really good battery life. This already has way better battery life than my Garmin does. I have had this a couple weeks at this point. It's been on a trip. It tracked the GPS for that entire trip, and I'm at 27% over 2 weeks and being on a trip and doing tracking with it. So really good battery life that way, customizable watch faces, as well as tracking your steps and your calories burned and a whole slew of other things. Like, I'm impressed with this so far. Obviously, we're going to spend a lot more time with it, but in that 2 weeks, it's already felt like my new favorite piece of gear. Like, I'm really, really impressed. So I'm excited to spend more time with this and just share that experience in comparison to the Garmin being my everyday watch for the last 3 years or so. So that is the Coros Apex 2 Pro. Now, next up here is a legit titanium pressure cooker from Keith Titanium. This might be the most unique item that we talk about today and the most specialized as well, but I think this thing is really cool, and I love seeing brands come out with different kinds of solutions of things to use out in the backcountry that are good for high altitude or just different types of cooking, just something different than what we use pretty much on every single one of our trips. This is similar in idea to the TI 6300 multi-cooker, which you are probably familiar with, but this is a legit pressure cooker. So let me just unfold things here. You've got a robust, really nice handle, as well as a good handle for the lid, which is important because this has to close tightly and create that pressure for cooking your rice or whatever other kind of meal you're doing in here. But comes apart, and you've got a few different things going on with the lid. You've got a pressure relief valve. You've got essentially an explosion proof valve that if it, for whatever reason, gets so much pressure in it in the way that it's cooking that it's not going to explode. And then you have other like valve scenario on here for it to just do pressure cooking things. Now, I'll be honest, I'm not like super familiar with like the use of a pressure cooker. I don't use them at home very often at all, but I was like, I want to give this thing a try. I want to just try different kinds of meals out there in the backcountry. And this is quite large. It's like 1,800 milliliters for its max capacity. It's big, it's like gonna be heavy, but we'll see what we can do with it. But you also have your insert in here that has your rubber gasket around, or your silicone gasket, for it to seal really good, and then your big pot. So I could see obviously using this more than just a pressure cooking situation. I can take this out and I could just boil water on a stove like this without anything in here, but then you have that option as well. Now, I have used this at home already and cooked some rice, and I was impressed at how well it did, and the amount of rice that you could also cook in this. So if you're out with a group and you want to do those kinds of meals, or just kind of switch things up a little bit, you're cooking over a fire and then cooking rice, and you've got kind of a stir fry situation going on, I think this is pretty cool to see, just something different, something new that is also that like a kitchen appliance approach that you see in your home at home. So that's the Keith titanium pressure cooker. I don't have much else to say about it, but we are definitely going to give this a try in 2025 and see what it's all about. And I may like it a lot, and I may not like it. We'll see. Now, moving on to some sleeping gear for 2025, what I have here in front of me is the Boost sleeping bag from Thermarest. This is a bag that just defines versatility, and I think that's what a lot of brands are trying to do. Is we're going to create a new product. Let's see what kind of magic things a bag can do to make it unique and different from other options on the market. And the Boost, I think, does a pretty good job of that innovation, or just being a little bit different from everything else out there. So what you have is a very roomy, like semi-rectangular sleeping bag, but this thing will actually expand and become even larger. Now, this bag is available in several different sizes, I think 6 different sizes. And what I have here is the regular wide. So it's already wider than the standard version. And then when you take this center zip and open it up, it grows to be a much wider bag than you would ever imagine a sleeping bag to be, without being truly a fully rectangular sleeping bag. So what this center zip does is increase the space inside, just makes it super roomy and enjoyable to be in. But then you also have got other zippers at the top for you to unzip and put your arms out, and just make it a really comfortable kind of loungy experience to be able to hang out in the bag and in a cold day inside of your tent. And the price point of it is not super expensive. It's like $300 to $370, depending on which size you get. And then you do have just your traditional hood with draft collars and all of that. But I mean, that thing, that's a big, big sleeping bag, and it's got 650 fill down in it. So it's not going to be the most compact or the lightest weight option, but I think it provides a little bit more of an enjoyable sleep experience than having to deal with drafts and such on quilts if quilts have not worked out for you, or you have that constriction of mummy bags and you want something that's just a bit more roomy. This provides that, so that's pretty cool. Now, the other piece of sleeping gear that I'm testing for 2025 that's been updated for the year is the ZenBivy light bed. Now, they're doing a bunch of different updates on multiple bed models. That is a really nice refresh. The light bed is more or less getting updates to the fabrics that are used to make it even better than it was before. It doesn't increase the weight really more than like an ounce or two from the previous model or previous generation, but it gives such a soft, nice, enjoyable sleep experience. And that's what ZenBivy is known for, is just a really high quality sleep. What you've got for the liner fabric now, as opposed to that 20 denier nylon inner, is a 25 denier pongee. This pongee fabric is so incredibly soft. It's so nice against your skin, and it's not excessively heavy, but it just really provides a comfortable, enjoyable sleep experience, and it makes it so you don't feel like you're sleeping in a garbage bag or have plastic bag feeling against your skin. So that is on the inside of the quilt. It's also against the full length sheet that is now available with this, but it's also zoned. So like the pongee comes down to a certain point, and then you have your 15 denier nylon fabric, and that is also that 15 denier on the wings of the sheet as well as the top of the quilt. This thing's just so good. I'm so excited to really put this one through the paces and enjoy just a more comfortable sleep experience with that pongee fabric and great pillow. Just, you guys know, I love the Zenbivy products. They're so good, and I'm excited for this update for 2025. Now, the last item we're talking about today is this tent from Big Agnes. This should be familiar to you, but what this is the Big Agnes Copper Spur UL2 XL, which means that this tent does not have a tapered floor. I'll talk about that a little bit more here in a second, but I'm not going to go into really deep detail on this right now because I've got more content coming of this tent specifically, but there are a couple things that I want to point out from my first little few experiences with it. The first are the dimensions on this. The reason that I was excited about this is finally the super popular Copper Spur comes in a size that doesn't have a tapered floor, and it can be a true two-person tent. You have 2 doors, 2 vestibules, you've got your peak vent here, but dimension-wise, you have 54 inches of width for your floor and 96 inches of length. That is really, really long for a tent of this size. Usually you're in the 84 to 86 range for the tent length. So it gives you space at the bottom of the tent at your feet to be able to put gear and such. You have that big open like basket of mesh pocket in there as well. And it's just big enough for 2 25-inch wide pads and to not be squished in there as well. Now it has all of the things that you know and love about the Copper Spur. This is a fantastic tent design. It's like tried and true, it's proven, but there are a couple things to point out. One is the hyperbead fabric is new for this for 2025, which is like higher waterproof rating, more waterproof, and it's not supposed to sag and supposed to be stronger and have less like chemical stuff to it as well. So that's important, and I'll put a link for learning more about the hyperbead stuff down in the description. But there's one thing that I'm like kind of annoyed about with this tent in the first few times pitching it, and it has to do with the vestibule doors. The stakeout point for the vestibule is too short, and it brings you too close to the ground too quick, and it makes it so the catenary cut of the vestibule doors is basically obsolete, like it doesn't pull tight. So what I've got to do is add some length of cord to that stakeout point to be able to pull the stake out further and see how that changes how the door tensions on the fly of the vestibule. It's silly, it's frustrating, and I feel like it's an oversight from Big Agnes in not making that piece of cord longer at the stakeout points on both sides of the door. So that is what it is. But I pointed out because it stuck out to me. So it's important to share that. But there you go. That's all the new stuff for now, at least, of what I'm testing in 2025. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. I appreciate you watching today. Hope you have an awesome day. We'll catch you on the next one. See you later.